Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center, located in beautiful downtown Madera, and welcome to the show today. Today, I want to talk about something we call the power of thought. But as I do that, I'm going to open up with a poem that many of you will recognize. You've heard it probably in many different places during your lifetime, and it goes something like this. Out of the night that covers me, black is the pit, from pole to pole. I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And I wanted to open with that poem today. The fellow that wrote that was a fellow by the name of William Henley. And in about 1875, he wrote this poem, but shortly before that, he had suffered. Well, actually, as a young man, about a 12-year-old, he contracted tuberculosis, and this is back in the day when, they didn't have much to treat it with. And by the time he was about 20 years old, he had had his left leg amputated at the knee, and had been informed that he was going to have the right leg amputated also because the tuberculosis spread there. And he was in a pretty dark state, if you will. Sometimes we call this the dark night of the soul. But for our friend Mr. Henley, a couple things happened. One was he was visited by a friend who spoke with him, and this is a little known story, but this friend came and spoke with him and kind of gave him some encouragement. And then after that, he contacted a fellow by the name of Dr. Lister to do some surgeries on the right leg. Now, the significance of the friend was his friend was a fellow by the name of Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of the book Treasure Island. As a matter of fact, the pirate in that book, Long John Silver, was actually modeled after the personality of Henley. Stevenson thought he was a pretty interesting fellow. But Dr. Lister is the fellow that introduced antiseptic to surgery, so that washing hands and using various things to clean the utensils and the wounds and stuff like that. And with multiple surgeries, they were able to save the right leg. And so during this dark night of the soul, and as he went through all this, this poem came to him, and he ultimately wrote it out. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. The power of thought in our life is more. It's more incredible than we can begin to imagine. As a matter of fact, it was Victor Hugo that said, there is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has arrived. And it's today we take that for granted in so many ways in our life. When I was a young man, I remember books like The Power of the Subconscious Mind by a fellow by the name of Joseph Murphy, Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Wayne Dyer, today more and more modern times, wrote a book, You Will See It When You Believe It. All these different books, and there's more out there. This is just touches the surface, but they all focus on one thing, the power of thought, the power of an idea. And after all, an idea is nothing more than a thought that has been formed into a specific thing. The power of thought. It's been a spiritual understanding for thousands of years. Matter of fact, it was Aristotle who said, what we expect, we attract. Today, and this is exciting stuff, my friends, today in the world of science through not not through pseudoscience, but hard science, in the research laboratory, if you will. Scientists are beginning to discover things about the brain and the mind that are just absolutely incredible. Did you know when you came into this world, you were pre-programmed for fear? It's hardwired into the brain. But you were also hardwired for something that we call spirituality. Now, that's not religion, and it has nothing to do with a belief in some kind of divine being, but it has to do with experiencing things of a spiritual nature, things that take place within ourselves. And as we grow and we mature, we go through life, we're influenced by many different things. People that fail to deal with these initial programmings are destined to deal with the effects of them. But this is another thing that today science tells us about the brain, is that the brain can rewire itself. We can actually rewire our predilection towards fear out of our brain. And we can grow our spiritual aspect within ourselves. We can also hardwire ourselves out of our spirituality to a certain extent. So the power of thought is where we begin with all this stuff. Thinking, we used to think that thinking was something that took place between our ears. Today we know that when we think a thought, that it actually is something that is detectable outside of our head. This is another scientific deal that they have. They have the ability to actually tell when you're thinking, what kind of thoughts you're thinking, without being invasive into the brain itself. They can do it outside. And all this science stuff all it does is bring documentation, if you will, to what we've been talking about in the spiritual field for many years. There are different spiritual philosophies that tie themselves up into being in a belief of subservience to some kind of a master God out there, that we're subject to all sorts of things in our lives. But there's something that we call New Thought, and of course this is New Thought Talk. And New Thought in its inception began with the premise that there is a God that is everywhere present, that there's nowhere where God is not. Well, let's shift to science for a minute. Today, science tells us that there's something that's called energy of some type that is everywhere present, no matter where you go in the universe. There is no such thing as a vacuum anymore. It's called a quantum vacuum because it's filled with this energy. And if you have been following science at all, last year the Hadron Collider in Lucerne, Switzerland, they've been working to find this thing they call the Higgs boson, or as it's commonly called, the God particle. The importance in finding this is it's this particle that, in association with the energy that's everywhere present, that begins to create matter out of itself. Out of nothingness, matter comes. Shift back into spirituality, if you will. We say that everywhere God is, there's nowhere that God is not. In the beginning there was God and there was nothing else. Now, there are dogmas that have taken that and separated out in many different ways. We're not going to address that today. Today we're going to address this idea of energy, this godness being located everywhere. That thoughts are a form of energy, and as they are a form of energy, as all energy has the ability to interact on other forms of energy, our thought has the ability to act upon our reality, our life, if you will. And so we go back to these books that I mentioned in the beginning. Think and Grow Rich. When you believe it, you will see it when you believe it. What does that mean? It means that we can create our own reality of sorts. Several years ago, a movie came out called The Secret, and it was a big success of sorts. In truth, it's really kind of just like a teaser to the book of life when it comes to the law of attraction and belief. It's kind of like a trailer for a movie, but it scratches the surface and it gives you enough information that if it has piqued your interest, there are places that you can go to begin to learn how to put these things into practice in our lives. And the thing is that there are these things that we call principles. We have like the principle of electricity. We have the principle of gravity. And everybody understands these things. no matter what you do, no matter what kind of person you are, if you step out into the abyss, so to speak, gravity's going to be there and it's going to do what gravity does. There are no exceptions. Well, there are spiritual principles too, and they work the same way when you understand how they work and you begin to put them into practice in your life. And this is where, as we begin to realize and understand and look at this concept that we call the power of thought, and we can apply that power of thought in our life. You don't have to be a religious person to put these principles into practice, but there are principles that you do have to put into practice to experience the effects of these things. So, we're going to cut away to our first break. We'll see you when we come back. We got some good stuff to cover today.
This segment is brought to you by author Ralph Arbitel. See his latest book, Aces, in our bookstore at CentralValleyTalk.com.
We are conveniently located across from Bullard High School on North Palm Avenue in Fig Garden. Morales Wellness Dental offers quality-oriented family dental care and service in a personalized and comfortable manner. As you enter our office, you'll always be greeted by our warm, caring dental team and will be invited to relax in our finely appointed lobby. We have 7 patient treatment suites that feature monitors for your in-op entertainment and diagnostic review. Our comfortable hygienist suites are the ideal setting for regular cleanings and checkups. As safety is our utmost priority, all instruments are put through our modern sterilization center. Furthermore, our sedation suite offers you both comfort and peace of mind during advanced dental procedures. And for your privacy, we have 2 separate patient consultation offices. Take the worry out of your next dental visit by calling us today. Experience our commitment to excellence, respect, and honesty at Morales Wellness Dental.
The Simonian family has been farming in the valley for 3 generations. Cold weather, drought, or accidents made ag investments risky. In 1951, C.D. Simonian started his own insurance agency to protect valley farmers from the uncertainty of the unknown. For your agricultural insurance needs, call C.D. Simonian Insurance Agency at 559-834-5333 or visit us on the web at cdsimonianinsurance.com.
For Italian cuisine, you've grown up knowing that DeCicco's in Clovis has the best. Now, for grown-ups, DeCicco's Lounge at Clovis and 4th in downtown Clovis for your after-work relaxation and all of your special events needs. DeCicco's Clovis Lounge.
Are you currently shopping for solar? Give Solar Negotiators a call. You see, what they do is they fill downtime at a reduced rate to make sure that you always get the best deal. Don't find out later that you could have bought your solar for thousands of dollars less. Call Solar Negotiators.
If you're looking to go solar with confidence and have someone represent you in this transaction, give Solar Negotiators a call at 844-OWN-SOLAR or visit solarnegotiators.com.
You have sleep questions? Mattress Land Sleep Fit has real answers. Oh, I feel like people need a map to find their way around some mattress stores.
No, what people actually need is BedFit. It's a diagnostic system that maps your body for you. It measures your height, your weight, your distribution of weight. It actually measures your lumbar curve and how flexible that is, along with a little bit of pain questions, and we're going to find the right fit for you.
The right fit for me?
The right fit for you.
Shouldn't have bought that GPS.
Yeah, it was probably a bad move on your part.
Mattress Land Sleep Fit. The right bed, the right experience, the right price.
This segment brought to you by Art Douglas Plumbing Incorporated. For all of your plumbing, heating, and air conditioning needs, call 559-222-5306.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I am the Reverend Steve Walling from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in beautiful downtown Madera. And today we're talking about the power of thought. And I gave a little brief introduction to this in the first segment. We're going to move on. I want to touch a little bit more on science, real science. Science as science of mind in the science of science, if you will. In the early days of quantum physics, they began to notice as scientists, physicists were putting together experiments on these subatomic particles, that there was something that was happening. And it was very perplexing. They couldn't quite figure it out in the beginning. But what they found was if they established an experiment to find out if something was a particle or a wave, depending on the thought of the person putting the experiment together. In other words, what that person expected to find as a result of that experiment depended on what the results were. In other words, if the experimenter was looking for a particle effect, they got particles. If they were looking for waves, they got waves. And yet they were doing the same experiment. They couldn't quite figure it out. And ultimately, what physicists came to is this idea of something they call the observer effect. In other words, the power of the observer putting this experiment together has an influence on the experiment itself. As a matter of fact, there was one physicist by the name of Schrodinger who came up with a theoretical model, if you will, and what it is, it's called Schrodinger's cat. And what he said was if we took a cat and we put it in a box, and in this box there was some poison, and on top of the poison there was a triggering device that was triggered by the release of an electron. Now, if the electron was released in a certain way, it would trigger the poison and the cat would die. If it was triggered in a different way, the poison was not released and the cat was alive. But we don't know until we open the box. And here's the conundrum. If we give the box to someone that expects the cat to be dead, when the box is open, the cat's dead. But if we give the box to someone who expects the cat to be alive and the box is open, that means the cat will be alive. So while the person is sitting here with the box and the cat, depending on what that person gives it to, if they don't know the predilection of either one of the individuals, at that point the cat is both dead and both alive. Power of thought, and it created a whole world of things for physicists to get into, but that's the idea in physics, how the mind begins to play out in its effects. And this is on so small particles that it really doesn't affect what we would consider reality. However, in the first part of the 21st century, a young doctoral student at the University of Chicago, and her name is, and I'm not sure I can pronounce this right, Sanitani Ghosh, who's now Dr. Ghosh, and she's located at UC Merced, right up the highway from where I'm at. She created an experiment where the same idea of this observer effect took place, only it took place not on subatomic particle level, but it took place on the molecular level. Now, for most of us average people, that doesn't mean a whole lot. But in the world of physics, this is like having something that affects an anthill affecting Mount Everest. I mean, the intensity and the magnitude is really that great. So what science has showed us is that yes, the mind, the ability to think and thought, has the power to affect things at a molecular level. Now, in medical science, we see this unfolding in many different ways. We see it unfolding in modern medicine today. It has become very important that doctors understand, particularly when they're dealing with patients with severe diseases, that they work with the patients to get them to create an attitude of healing, an attitude of happiness, an attitude of harmony instead of an attitude of desperation, if you will. And they found, and not only have they found it, but they've been able to track it through experimentation, that a patient that has a more upbeat, positive attitude has a greater percentage chance of creating a full recovery. The power of thought. I'm talking about these things in these terms because we're gonna shift here in a minute. We're gonna talk about the power of thought on a spiritual level. But these are things that are documented in the world today. People understand, science understands that these things aren't just they're there. In 1973, there was a fellow that wrote a book called The Secret Life of Plants. And this is another one of those experiments that took place. And what they found, to make a long story short, save you from having to find the book, is that if they took plants and they put them in a room, and someone came into that room and nurtured in their mind, in their thinking, those plants, as they cared for them and stuff, the plants actually prospered. But if that same person came into a room and thought negative thoughts of plants were going to kill you, tear you up, all these bad stuff, all of a sudden the plants begin to suffer. And there's lots of experimentation, lots of things that are displayed or written about in this book, but the underlying thing is what the person, the caretaker, thought about the plants was affected in the plants. The power of thought. We see it played out in our life, in our everyday life, in so many different ways, but we don't think about it. But we have books, like I said, Power of Positive Thinking. You have people like Tony Robbins and various other personal coaches that, tell us if we think positive and we do this, that we will have a greater life, a greater outcome in life. And it's true. But it's only true if you get the inside secret, if you will. And so several years ago, this movie came out called The Secret, and they gave away this great secret. What's the secret? What you think about comes about in your life. Now, in New Thought, we call this the law of cause and effect, or the great law, the law of spirit or God, if you will, that there is a causative force. God, thought, there is a result, manifestation. Whatever happens in between is what we call the law. It's the method of God working. So you say, okay, well, that's fine, Steve, but I want to have an abundant life, and I want to have this, that, and the other, but my life is a whole lot less than anything near that I want. What's going on? I'm thinking positive thoughts. Well, yes and no. And this is where it begins to unfold, where our true power lies. And these are spiritual principles, like I said, and they're also scientific principles that we put them into practice. We put them into practice, and that's the definitive thing. Now, there's nobody watching the show today that in their wildest dreams of their imaginations, if they've never played an instrument before in their life, ever would figure that they could sit down at a grand piano and be a concert pianist in a week's time. But yet we do that when it comes to this type of thing. We get people that come and they say, okay, I'm going to work on this positive consciousness stuff. I'm going to have a positive mindset. And a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, they're going, oh man, I'm burnt out. It doesn't work. But it's working by not working because that's where their mind is. And see, this is the thing. It is a practice. And it is a practice that is a skill, and it is a skill that we can learn. But we have to learn, we have to work at it, and we have to be consistent in what we do. I can't tell myself, I'm going to work on this positive stuff and then go outside and get mad at the guy that cut me off on the freeway, or look at my neighbor and judge them to be less than me, or to read the news and wallow in the negativity and all this sort of stuff. We have to close that stuff out of our minds. We have to be willing to walk away from judgment. We have to open ourselves up to this amazing healing force called forgiveness. But all of this stuff takes place inside here, in here. It's not an outside job. It's nothing that we can take a pill for. It's nothing that somebody can do for us, but it is something that we can do for ourselves. And that is doing for ourselves is putting the power of thought into practice and into effect in our lives. When I came to New Thought, this stuff set me on fire. And the thing is, as I've presented it, you may have gotten that there's no, where's the spirituality? Where's the piety in this? You don't have to be pious to be spiritual. As a matter of fact, sometimes the piousness that you see in individuals is more ego than true spirituality. You don't have to believe in God to be spiritual. Being spiritual is being at peace within yourself. It's recognizing that there may be something beyond you, even if it's an inner energy that can manifest in your life. Spirituality can be a level of confidence that is non-ego based, that understanding that I can, the ultimate I can, and I am. And behind that I can and I am, we don't put I am poor, I am weak, I am less than, I am not enough, and all this. You are enough. And we all are enough, and we each and every one of us have enough of everything available to us when we avail ourselves to that which we have available to ourselves. And this is going back to this idea of the power of thought. there was a fellow by the name of Dr. Maslow. He wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And one of the things that Dr. Maslow found was that as a plastic surgeon, when people would come in and with these horrible, visual things wrong with them, and he would correct them and make them handsome or beautiful, if they will, some people responded well and other people didn't respond well. And he began to investigate, and what he found was the people that had a good self-image responded well. The people that didn't respond so well. What's a self-image? A self-image is nothing more than a compilation of beliefs that we have about ourselves. And what are our beliefs? Our beliefs are just thoughts. And anything and everything that we believe today, we didn't believe at one time. We've had to learn everything that we believe, including our beliefs about the divine, the nature of the universe, the beliefs about who we are and what we are. And so in our next segment, we're going to talk about creating beliefs, how to go about it, and putting this wonderful power of thought into play in our lives. You can do it. You sure can. And we'll talk about it when we come back. We'll see you then.
This segment is brought to you by Jonathan Rooker of the Law Office of Nuttall and Coleman. We help good people during tough times. Call 441-0441.
Can't find a copier or printer that fits your needs? Are the costs for printing just too high? A+ Business Systems focuses on what you need. A+ Business Systems will reduce downtime with automated alerts via email, notifying us when your printer is low on supplies, all for low, affordable monthly costs. Have you ever had a desk looking like this? A+ Business Systems will set up paperless office electronic document management software where you store every important document. With A+, there's no worry about digging through archived documents. Our electronic filing system provides the speed and efficiency to search and retrieve documents to meet the demands of modern-day businesses. Learn more about A+ Business Systems, software, services, and more at apluscopiers.net or call us at 559-442-3564.
For Italian cuisine, you've grown up knowing that DeCicco's in Clovis has the best. Now, for grown-ups, DeCicco's Lounge at Clovis and 4th in downtown Clovis for your after-work relaxation and all of your special events needs. DeCicco's Clovis Lounge.
The Simonian family has been farming in the valley for 3 generations. Cold weather, drought, or accidents made ag investments risky. In 1951, C.D. Simonian started his own insurance agency to protect valley farmers from the uncertainty of the unknown. For your agricultural insurance needs, call C.D. Simonian Insurance Agency at 559-834-5333 or visit us on the web at cdsimonianinsurance.com.
In 1985, Larry Korth set out to help his friends, family, and community find affordable ways to buy a home or a business property. 30 years later, Mid-Valley Financial is the premier mortgage banker in the Central Valley. The professional staff at Mid-Valley will find the best mortgage products for your family. Mid-Valley Financial takes great pride in being the Central Valley's local lender. Visit us at midvalleyfinancial.com.
Are you currently shopping for solar? Give Solar Negotiators a call. You see, what they do is they fill downtime at a reduced rate to make sure that you always get the best deal. Don't find out later that you could have bought your solar for thousands of dollars less. Call Solar Negotiators.
If you're looking to go solar with confidence and have someone represent you in this transaction, give Solar Negotiators a call at 844-OWN-SOLAR or visit solarnegotiators.com.
For all of your real estate needs, call Mike Briggs Properties, 559-486-6758, or check us out at MikeBriggsProperties.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm the Reverend Steve Walling. We're having a good time today. We're talking about the power of thought. And as we went to the break, I just introduced this idea that everything that we currently believe today, we didn't believe at one time. And for some of us, our beliefs are so tightly held and we feel that they are such a part of us that we could never imagine not believing what we currently believe. But it is true. None of us believe or believed what we believe now at some point in our life. We had to learn our beliefs. And what we've learned, we can unlearn. I mean, to take a very simple understanding from history, at one time, everybody believed the world was flat. Well, mostly nobody believes that today. There might be a few flat earthers out there, but, at some point in time, people had to unlearn the flatness of the earth and learn the roundness of the earth. And that's just a simple metaphor for what goes on in our lives. In a more serious level, there's oftentimes people that have been a part of what I might refer to as old thought religion or various other types of religions that they grew up in their family. As they grew up and they became an adult, they realized that maybe that religion didn't fit into the world as they understood it. That maybe that their definition of God that they understand today doesn't fit the old definition that they were taught, they believe. And oftentimes these people are in the process and have already left the particular belief of their earlier years. And some of them might be searching, some of them might have moved on to something else, but they have changed their beliefs. We have, as a country, we have changed our beliefs about many things over the years. And I throw this out so you understand, beliefs can be, they're not just changed, new beliefs are learned, and we let the old beliefs fall away. When people began to understand that the mind was much more than just something that we think with, when science began to, and this is recent science, began to understand that the brain is really an organic biocomputer that can be reprogrammed. As a matter of fact, the brain can make new connections, and just all sorts of wonderful things go on within the brain that we're just beginning to find out today that 20 years ago we had no clue. And the science has just begun to scratch the surface of this. But the exciting thing is, what we're learning is that there are things and energies that affect us in so many different ways in the body. At one time, science believed, doctors believed, that the central nervous system, or the nervous system within the body, was the informational highway, if you will, between all parts of the body. In other words, if I stimulate the finger here, I feel it here, but everything takes place in the brain, and they would be able to track. They have devices that they can track the speed of the nerve conduction from here to there, back to here. And there's a certain speed that takes place at. And then they found that there's certain things that take place in the body that didn't make sense as we understood speed. We understand now, science does, that the impulse from the eye to the brain back to the eye can be much longer in time duration than an impulse from the Achilles tendon to the brain back to the Achilles tendon. And it didn't make much sense. But what we begin to find out is there's something, this cellular matrix energy that is, and this is cutting edge biological science, that there is something in the body, some energy that can transmit information throughout the entire beingness, if you will. Faster than a nerve can get that message there. This is energy. And energy can be influenced by energy. This is where the power of thought comes in when it comes to healing. That as we begin to go through a process, if we're dealt with some kind of an illness, and if we refuse to accept that illness is going to be our demise, if we embody a consciousness of wellness, that there's things that take place in the body that modern science can't begin to explain, but they see it take place, and it's been documented. And I'm not going to spend time today on it because I've mentioned it in shows in the past. But they have documented cases of spontaneous healing that they have no idea how it came about. That over the years, one of the things that science has taken issue with is this idea of the power of prayer when it comes to healing. Now, there's been studies done early on in the middle of the 20th century. And some of them said that prayer was effective, and then other studies came out and said prayer wasn't effective. There was problems with both of those studies, and the problems were that the underlying criteria that they used for the studies were very biased, depending on who the researchers were. Well, in 2012, there's a woman instructor, a student out of University of Indiana. Her name is Candy Gunther Brown, and she wrote a book called Testing Prayer, published in 2012. And one of the things that has been a high point of that book was the fact that Ms. Brown has developed methodology, scientific methodology that can be used in the study of prayer that takes the inherent bias that we found in the earlier studies out. And she was acclaimed through the scientific community for being able to do this. Now, the interesting part of her research was she found that prayer had a positive effect on healing. Okay, now there's more research that is ongoing with this. But what is prayer? Prayer is just another form of thought. Now, there's different ways of praying. We know in New Thought that we don't pray to a God out there somewhere that we got a 911 and say, "Oh, please come save me because I've done wrong, I've lived in sin," or whatever. We recognize, and going back to the beginning of the show, you remember when I talked about energy being everywhere present? That's a solid fact. We talk about God being everywhere present. And in a New Thought, we see one and the same. We don't see God as separate from the energy, separate from the allness that all that is. And so when we go to pray for something, we don't ask for something to be done. We recognize the truth, what we call the truth of what is. And the recognition of that truth is that if there is this energy, and if it is creative, and we believe that those things are, then there's a response that takes place, and we have a right to expect it. When we will see it when we believe it. Now, that's not so far off from the ancient teachings. There was this fellow named Jesus, and he said, pray believing, and it'll be, as you believe, it will be done to you. There's, in various different spiritual teachings, we find this same theme that runs through. If you believe, okay, and what is belief? Belief is thought, and thought has power. We are surrounded by a field, an infinite field of energy, divine energy, of godness, whatever you want to call it, surrounds us. It's through us. Actually, it is us, and it is influenced by energy. There's been some talk about people that live in homes underneath these high-tension power lines. The mere fact of being in that continuous close contact with that energy that radiates from those power lines can cause health issues. Something a little more understandable for a lot of people is the idea of coming into close contact with something that is radioactive. That can have negative effects upon the body. But there's also positive effects that can be had by certain types of energy on the body. Again, this is all documented. And thought is a energy, and it can be positive. And this is where we come to what we're doing in what we call New Thought. With science of mind or unity or many of the other different New Thought belief systems. We believe in one God everywhere present. Doesn't leave any wiggle room. We believe in the power of thought. We believe that we are God made manifest as us. And we believe that as we go through life, that this infinite energy is giving infinitely to all of us. But we can only utilize it at the level that we believe it. At the level we believe it is the level that we're open to it. And so we come now to how do we employ this? How do we put this into practice into our lives? Well, we'll start with the basics. If we take the brain as a biocomputer, that means we can program it. And so if I don't necessarily believe it today, but I'd really like to, how do I do that? Well, let's start with some basic programming. What's basic programming? Well, one of the first things we do is we talk about something we call affirmations. Affirmations are nothing more than a positive statement regarding something particular in our life. And we know that these work. There was a fellow in the early part of the 20th century, Émile Couillet. He came to the United States from France, and he wrote this book on the power of affirmations in changing consciousness and changing lives. And his affirmation that he utilized it went something like this: every day, in every way, I'm getting better, better, and better. And he had his patients, if you will, repeat that 100, 200 times a day, every single day. And what they found was the people that did that, their lives changed. It's just that simple. Affirmations, repeated continuously, begin to make different changes in the brain. However, the brain being what it is, and science telling us what it tells us about the brain, we cannot affirm good today, go out and get stuck in the stuff later in the day or tomorrow, and then come back to it, because the back and forth it's like a ping pong. It leaves us in chaos. You have to make a commitment, and this is where people that begin to enjoin a spiritual path begin to take time every day, and as they do this, things begin to change in their life. And we're going to talk about affirmations, we're going to talk about meditation, we're going to talk about a few other things, our commitment to that when we come back after this break. We'll see you then.
This segment is brought to you by Mike Briggs Properties. The recession's over. It's now safe to sell your home. Call Mike Briggs Properties. For all of your real estate needs, call Mike Briggs Properties, 559-486-6758, or check us out at MikeBriggsProperties.com.
For Italian cuisine, you've grown up knowing that DeCicco's in Clovis has the best. Now, for grown-ups, DeCicco's Lounge at Clovis and 4th in downtown Clovis for your after-work relaxation and all of your special events needs. DeCicco's Clovis Lounge.
Are you currently shopping for solar? Give Solar Negotiators a call. You see, what they do is they fill downtime at a reduced rate to make sure that you always get the best deal. Don't find out later that you could have bought your solar for thousands of dollars less. Call Solar Negotiators.
If you're looking to go solar with confidence and have someone represent you in this transaction, give Solar Negotiators a call at 844-OWN-SOLAR or visit solarnegotiators.com.
Black MP makes up for nutrients lost to filtering, pasteurization, and processing, and it provides the probiotics and humic and fulvic minerals that can lead to optimized functioning of all the body's cells and systems, increased energy levels, and overall enhanced health and well-being. A scoop of Black MP in 16 ounces of water once or twice a day can help you achieve your health and performance goals. For more information, go to our website, blackmp.net, or call us at 559-799-9879.
You have sleep questions? Mattressland Sleep Fit has real answers. Oh, I feel like people need a map to find their way around some mattress stores.
No, what people actually need is BedFit. It's a diagnostic system that maps your body for you. It measures your height, your weight, your distribution weight. It actually measures your lumbar curve and how flexible that is, along with a little bit of pain questions, and we're going to find the right fit for you.
The right fit for me?
The right fit for you.
Shouldn't have bought that GPS.
Yeah, it was probably a bad move on your part.
Mattressland Sleep Fit. The right bed, the right experience, the right price.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
In 1985, Larry Korth set out to help his friends, family, and community find affordable ways to buy a home or a business property. 30 years later, Mid-Valley Financial is the premier mortgage banker in the Central Valley. The professional staff at Mid-Valley will find the best mortgage products for your family. Mid-Valley Financial takes great pride in being the Central Valley's local lender. Visit us at midvalleyfinancial.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm the Reverend Steve Walling. We've been having a show today. We've been talking about the power of thought. And as I closed off the last segment, I was talking about how we can change our beliefs, which are just thoughts that we have embodied into our lives. we started with affirmations. Affirmations, when we affirm something continuously every day, it's a starting point. And you know, the good news is we don't even have to believe them as we begin. We just have to continuously repeat them. Because at some point in time, there will become a shift. We'll begin to shift away from old beliefs to awakening or opening up to new beliefs. And that is where the power of affirmations comes in. When Coué first presented this idea, you know, he worked with people that believed that, you know, they were less than, or there was problems in their lives or whatever. And as they used his affirmation every day in every way, I'm getting better and better and better, their lives changed. What Maslow found many years later was the same thing. As he began to work with people that had poor self-images, as they begin to affirm and work with things that created a belief in a positive self-image, their lives begin to change. And so we've introduced affirmations. The next thing I want to talk about is meditation. Now, meditation is not difficult, it's not hard. The key to meditation is consistency. Doing it every day. Picking a time, ideally a little bit of time in the morning and a little bit of time in the evening, where you find a quiet place. There's no special position that you've got to get into. There's no special mantra that you've got to say, although there are things that you could do if you choose to. The most important thing is to find a place where you can get comfortable, where you have privacy, peace, and quiet, and you can quiet your mind. Some people choose to find a spot on the wall and just kind of focus on that spot as their meditation. Some people like to close their eyes. Some people like to focus on their breathing. And in the beginning of meditation, the mind is going to be all over the place. It's going to wander here or there. Don't worry about it. As you catch that going on, just bring your focus back to whatever it is that you're focusing on. And you'll find that after a period of time, there'll be longer and longer time spans where you will have that quietness in your mind. What science is telling us today about people that meditate is long-term meditators, the actual physiological age of their brain doesn't equate to the actual age of their body in this life. Meditation can actually slow down the aging of the brain and maybe even reduce some of the negative effects that aging has on the brain. It's a powerful thing in and of itself, but also in the process of meditating, we allow our mind to settle and to just open to inspiration. And there is a divine presence out there that will fill you with inspiration if you open your mind to it. So we affirm and we meditate. And the next thing is a part of that, and that's called commitment. You know, and that's the one that seems to catch a lot of people. We can do it for a day or two or a week or two. You know, it's that darn New Year's resolution bug that strikes everybody every year. You know, this year, these are the things I'm going to do, and we do it for a week or a couple weeks. Or I'm going to go on this diet, and we do it for a week or a couple weeks. This is something that you have to make a commitment to, and it's a commitment that needs to be ongoing as you do it. You don't beat yourself up. You don't, if you find that you've gotten away from it. But do the things that you know that you have to do to remind yourself of your commitment. Whether it's, taking a bar of soap and writing on the mirror in the bathroom, or leaving yourself a note on the refrigerator, until it becomes a habit. And if you do it long enough, if you commit to the change long enough, if you commit to affirming long enough, if you commit to meditating long enough, it will no longer be an activity that is something you've got to work at doing, but it will become a habit pattern. You will have rewired your brain. You've made new neural connections. But out of doing that, you're going to see and experience changes in your life that you can't account for any other way than there's something special going on. Your connection to Source or God, your connection to universal energy, whatever you want to call it. We are surrounded by an infinite field. We call it God. There's no place where it's not. And so as we begin to do that, then we understand that one of the most powerful things, let me say this again, one of the most powerful things that we have to understand in our whole toolbox of powerful things is our ability to choose, to make the choice. When you choose yourself when you choose to walk a spiritual path, you begin to choose to eliminate negative things out of your life. When you choose to catch yourself as you're beginning to complain, when you choose to be aware consciously of how you're thinking and focus on creating a trend of positive thought within ourselves, you will see things change in your life. It's called a complaint-free world. You can go online, if you Google complaint-free world, you can find out, you can order these little bracelets and you put them on, and for 21 days you've got to get to where you can only wear the bracelet on one hand and not have to change it. But every time you complain, you got to pull it off, put it on the other hand. So, at first you do it a lot, and pretty soon maybe you go a day or two. But every time you have to change it, the 21 days starts over again. And you're reprogramming this wonderful biocomputer. So you begin to do this, and you begin to see things unfold in your life, incredible things. When we go within in meditation, and we have begun to experience a life of positiveness, if you will, when we have begun to affirm our good, and we quiet the mind, we open it up. I mentioned earlier that we get inspiration. This is divine inspiration. This is Spirit or God speaking to us, and we can be guided through and to all sorts of wonderful things in our lives. And the amazing thing that people begin to see is doors begin to open, things begin to happen in our lives. There is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has arrived. And the same with a belief. As we get into that, we believe it, we watch it unfold in our lives. I want to show, Bill, throw up this first picture you got there. This is from Dr. Masaru Emoto, and this goes back to the power of thought. He found that if we focused negative thoughts on water and froze it, what you see there on the screen is that crystal. Now, throw up one of the other ones, Bill, if you will. This next crystal is, I believe it's happiness or love. It's happiness. If you focus on the water with happiness, these are the crystals that were formed once they froze the water. And this last one over here that he's going to throw up, this is love. You see how the power of our mind can play out in a physical world. We started with this. I want you to catch that as we close for today. You have a power within you. It is a divine power. It is a power that you can use. You can make a choice to use it. There's a presence and a power for good in the universe available to each and every one of us. And today, that's what we talked about. I hope you enjoyed our talk today. Go through your week. Be the powerful power creator in your life. You can do it. And if you need to, connect with somebody from New Thought of some kind. Science of Mind, Religious Science, Unity, UFBL, Divine Science, any one of them, or go online and find it. You can look me up. The webpage is listed below. This is your day. You're in control. You create the life you want to live. And as you go through the week, remember that the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, and the presence of God watches over you. Because wherever you are, God is and all is well. Know that, believe it, live it. I'll see you next time. Blessings, my friend.
This segment brought to you by Crown Realty in Tulare. Let the professionals at Crown Realty Property Management take care of your rental properties. Visit TulareCrown.com.
We are conveniently located across from Bullard High School on North Palm Avenue in Fig Garden. Morales Wellness Dental offers quality-oriented family dental care and service in a personalized and comfortable manner. As you enter our office, you'll always be greeted by our warm, caring dental team and will be invited to relax in our finely appointed lobby. We have 7 patient treatment suites that feature monitors for your in-op entertainment and diagnostic review. Our comfortable hygienist suites are the ideal setting for regular cleanings and checkups. As safety is our utmost priority, all instruments are put through our modern sterilization center. Furthermore, our sedation suite offers you both comfort and peace of mind during advanced dental procedures. And for your privacy, we have 2 separate patient consultation offices. Take the worry out of your next dental visit by calling us today. Experience our commitment to excellence, respect, and honesty at Morales Wellness Dental.